Hello. So, we're going to wrap things up with muscles here. And what I'm doing here is I'm really just trying to help you out with the practical and good ways to think anatomically in studying for a muscle practical. Because you are becoming rookie anatomists. You are becoming anatomists. And becoming an anatomist means that you are able to take a look at anatomy and not just name stuff, but be able to look at it and kind of interpret things, and that how these muscles move the body makes sense to you because of where they originate and where they insert. That it makes sense to you that they're doing that action. Okay, so I say here some final help in naming muscles and ways that muscles get their names. And they can get their names according to, I just did that. Um, they can get their names according to where they are on your body. Like brachialis is in the brachial region, your arm. Rectus abdominis in your abdomen. Rectus means straight. So rectus abdominis is kind of this straight up and down muscle in your abdomen, rectus abdominis. Um, Tibialis anterior is actually anterior to your tibia. You'll see that. The bicep femoris, temporalis. The temporalis is associated with your temporal bone. It has an origin along that and eventually inserts on your dentary. But anyway, so they end up having these names that make sense a bit, and the shape of the muscle too. And that has to do with the fascicles. So remember, those are the things that are bundled by perimysium. So the fascicles are what you see, and we call them striations. You know, when you take a look at, say, a dissected cat, and you see the fiber directions. So there's things that get their names because of that, that it ends up being triangular, like a deltoid, like the shape of the deltoid, the delta letter symbol. Um, Trapezius, rhomboideus, maybe some of these shapes make less sense to you. Um, Fiber direction, external oblique, transversus abdominis. Um, those are muscles that move your trunk. And yeah, your external oblique, that's kind of like the fiber direction is like if you put your hands in your pockets. It is kind of coming at an oblique angle. And then the internal oblique is still oblique angle, but it's this way, as if you're kind of putting your hands up on your chest. That's the fiber direction. And then it's the transversus abdominis that is kind of coming along in that transverse plane. Um, then what is their function? Are they an adductor, like adductor femoris? It tells you right in its name what it's doing. And extensor digitorum longus, it's extending the digits. So these names make sense. You might go, oh, what's the name of that muscle? Oh, it's sticking up on those toes. And yeah, extensor digitorum, some of the stuff, eventually when you interpret things, it makes sense. And then the number of origins, and that's how we get biceps, triceps, and quadriceps, that they'll each have different names, although for the biceps, we don't learn the different heads, but for the triceps, we learn the different heads, and for the quadriceps, we learn the different heads, and they get different names, and they seem quite separate from each other. So I also want to help you out with figuring out actions and looking at muscles and how they move the body. And we are learning just a single action for a set of muscles. So we're doing it in, I mean, though as tedious it might seem, it is a lot less than what it could be. You don't have to learn whole sets of actions. You're learning one. So I don't want you to come away from this course and thinking that each muscle only has one action. That wouldn't be a good conclusion for you to draw. But I am simplifying things for the practical, so I'm only having you learn once. But it's good to know that even muscles that have some similar actions, they might end up being a little bit different in some other actions that they can do. And I think the hamstring muscles are a good example of that. So we learned about the bicep femoris, the semitendinosus, semimembranosus, and that they have they're very powerful knee flexors. So they flex the knee. All right, but they are a little bit different in their insertions here. Like if you take a look at the bicep femoris, it's inserting here along more on the lateral side of the back of the knee, where the fibula is, and the semimembranosus and semitendinosus are coming in here on the medial side of the tibia. And so that ends up meaning that they have slightly different actions. Like with the bicep femoris inserting over here, you imagine that contracting, and it actually kind of pulls the knee outward, what we call external rotation of the knee. And the semimembranosus and semitendinosus do internal rotation. And taking a look at the gracilis, we see that coming here on the pubis, inserting along here on the tibia. And it not only helps with knee flexion, it also helps with adduction. Because it's inserting along on here. I mean, look at what's nearby. The adductor femoris. And although you should note that in humans, what's called adductor longus and adductor brevis, those are like adductor femoris. And so that also does some adduction. So there are some other kinds of actions, but even the ones that I'm just having you learn one action. Taking a look at these kinds of images, or just looking at it on the cat, you can get a sense of what it does. Like the quadriceps here, we learned all of those, all the vastus, intermedius, medius, medialis, lateralis, and then the rectus femoris. Straight, rectus meaning straight again there. It's kind of straight in the middle. And those guys all come together with a single tendon that goes to the patella and then eventually goes to the tibial tuberosity. And they all extend the knee. And so they're all having that concerted action on that one spot from different angles, but all pulling the knee up. And take a look at the gluteus medius. Where does it originate and insert? You can think about that. I'll let you think about it. You can kind of see where it is right there. It's on the gluteal surface of the ilium. And then it's inserting on that big top bumpy thing on the femur, the greater trochanter. And so that's where it inserts. And so it's going to be abducting the leg, abducting the femur. And then taking a look at these adductors of the arm. The latissimus dorsi, with its origin all along the lumbar dorsal fascia. They're inserting on the medial side of the humerus, both of them, but from different sides of the body. One is anterior, pectoralis major is, and then the latissimus dorsi is on the posterior side of your body. So while they're both adductors of the arm, they can do some slightly different things. Like with the latissimus dorsi, it's pulling backwards on the humerus, and for the pectoralis major, it's swinging things forward, like throwing a ball underhanded. And so that with the pectoralis major, that's flexion of the humerus, and with the latissimus dorsi, it's extension of the humerus, pulling things backward. It ends up being of the power stroke for swimmers. And then taking a look, we looked at a whole lot of set of muscles that looked at attached to the scapula. And so, but where on the scapula? And we learned the serratus ventralis in a cat, which is for a human, with us being upright, same muscle, serratus anterior, because that's anterior, not ventral for us. And that's pulling here. That's going to help rotate the scapula and end up helping to rotate and move the humerus forward. And then, what else do I have? The trapezius and, rhomboideus. So the rhomboideus kind of pulling here, ending up here along on the medial margin of the scapula, inserting around there. And so that's going to be helping to adduct the scapula, and trapezius helping to pull the scapula forward. So ending up doing some kinds of various kinds of motions. So I recommend you not just looking at lists of names and memorizing actions, but looking at diagrams of the muscles on the body, looking at images, looking at the movies that I made. And one thing I think that's very helpful with those movies is that you actually see the actions listed out and the insertions and origins, that when I added text to those videos, that the information is all there. So you see it visually, and then you can also see it on the screen the same way. So good luck in your studyings for that. I'll say so long for now.